Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of UMass Sports Weekly. I'm your host, Casey Johnston. Good show lined up for you tonight, not the positivity we left off with last week. UMass Basketball coming off a tough week. Just lost 3 of the last 4 games. We'll get into it with Adamo Pulzone and Jesse Levinson. Following that, we'll cover some spring previews of UMass Athletics. Be sure to catch you up on that. Prepare you for lacrosse, which will get started just next week. Then our very own Marc-Jean Louis will get you with a Super Bowl recap. Really interesting game there. I know there's a lot of people happy about that around here. Finally, we'll finish you off with a nice Boston sports package. This is UMass Sports Weekly.
This is UMass Sports Weekly.
To UMass Sports Weekly. Now joining me at the table to discuss UMass basketball, Adamo Pulzone and Jess Levinson. Guys, thanks for joining. Welcome to the table. Now, UMass coming off a real tough week. Lost 3 of the last 4 games after beginning the season 16-1. Not the stretch we wanted to see around here. A lot of hype getting around the ranked UMass. No longer ranked. Still time for that, but a rough week nonetheless. Now, tomorrow night, chance to redeem themselves at home. They'll be taking on LaSalle at the Mullen Center at 7 o'clock. Big game, A-10 matchup. Could get some redemption here. Could help that A-10 record. Adamo, what do you see happen in this game?
Well, first off, I hope I see a lot of UMass fans there tomorrow because this team needs it. This is a must-win game. After losing 3 of your last 4 games, dropping out of the top 25, not even in the top 40 because we didn't get a single vote in the AP, we need to win this game. This is a must-win game. I don't know how many times I need to repeat that. And the motivation factor in this game is the fact that they were used to being a number 13, number 12 team, according to the USA Today poll. Number 12, fantastic, in the entire nation. Now we're not even top 40. We need to come back against this horrible LaSalle team. They're not that great. This is the same team that 2 weeks ago they lost to George Washington and only had 47 points. So, without a doubt, must-win game. I hope I see a lot of people there tomorrow.
I agree with you, Adamo. Losing 2 in a row is not what you want to see from this team. But they have a great matchup against LaSalle coming up. LaSalle's only 12-9 with the same A-10 record as us, so we have to prove that we're a better A-10 team and overall team. Unfortunately, Esho is out with a concussion for this upcoming game, so I think it's important that the role players on this team can show that we're a very deep team. We pull together and we don't lose 3 in a row. We can lose 2 in a row maybe, not 3 in a row. And other players have to step up and prove that they're very good.
Yeah, I think even with Esho out, this, like you said, Adamo, this is a must-win. And not only, in my opinion, just a must-win, they need to dominate this win. If they want to continue on that mentality of being one of the top 25 teams in the country, and I know they think they're far better than that. They think they belonged where they were at 13. They think they belong in the top 10. A lot of people around here feel that way as well. And in order for that to happen, they're going to have to beat this LaSalle team. If you lose this 3rd in a row and it's to a team like LaSalle, it's just not going to be good.
There's going to be no chance.
Especially coming off that 3 out of 4. It's just going to look really bad. A lot of time left in the season, don't get me wrong. But that would just be a bad loss. Adamo, I completely agree. A must-win. Now,
just one more thing, yeah. Casey. So UMass has lost 3 of their last 4 games, right? But LaSalle has also lost 3 of their last 4 by even more points. So everything's kind of on an even level where we should take them very, very easily.
Yeah, this should be a good bounce-back game for this team. Hopefully we see a large win, a lot of points, a lot of scoring, even like you said, with Maxi Esho out, which will be a tough hit for this team because, as we have seen, Maxi Esho has been providing some serious spark off the bench. Not just a few points here and there, but really coming into games where UMass looked terrible with their starting 5 and getting quick points to really bounce their whole team back in this game. He's been a big factor for this team, and that stirred up a discussion around our studio. Jesse, I'm going to start it with you. Now, we know Maxi Esho's out for tomorrow. He'll be back soon with that concussion. Do you think it's time that Kellogg makes a shift in the rotation and maybe brings a bench player like Maxi Esho, puts him in the starting lineup to change things up after this 3 out of 4 loss stretch?
I do think that, Casey. I think Esho has had a great season and that he deserves a starting role after he comes back because Samson Carter has cooled off after a really good start. His points and rebounding numbers are down. He's been very inconsistent. Love the guy, but also coinciding with the losses, I think it's a good time to light a fire under their asses and show that they really need to.
Completely disagree with that. No, you should not sub out Samson Carter. He has been one of our most consistent players. Point-wise, yes, he's declined. Rebound-wise, he's one of our only big men that are actually healthy and who gets the system. He knows how to play the tight man defense. He knows how to play the full court press. He's part of that starting team. And if you just get rid of him, at this point in the season,
not saying get rid of him.
If you put in a younger guy, that's going to hit his confidence, one. And two, that's going to really mess up the vibe within that team on the court. They have a system. They're used to a system. Every team goes through a little bit of a bump in the road. Ours just happens to be 3 games out of 4 that we shouldn't have lost. But the motivation factor is we're out of the top 25. And if you get rid of Samson Carter, if you think Derek Kellogg getting rid of Samson Carter will maintain his credibility and help this team going forward, I got to say, that's blasphemous. That's blasphemous.
I agree that the confidence of this team is really important. And Kellogg has a big challenge coming up with keeping the team on an even keel and also getting them ready.
But who would you put? You put in Esho. First of all, Esho's not even going to be in tomorrow because he's hurt. So, all right, Carter, you play this game. Wait till Esho comes back. We're going to get rid of you after, though. Come on. There's no way that's going to happen. That's going to kill his confidence.
Esho is putting up better shooting numbers and rebounding numbers and the hustle stats, steals, and blocks in 8 less minutes per game than Carter. So I think he has really provided a spark in that he needs to put this team on his back.
Yeah, but you know what? He's not part of that mesh. He's not as consistent. Samson Carter is a phenomenal player. Yes, every player goes through a little bit of a dip where they decline in points or one spot or another. But I don't believe getting rid of Samson Carter in the starting 5 will resolve your problems. You want to get into the top 25. You really want to put Esho in. Esho's a great player. He's been providing spark. But is he that mature enough to maintain that starting position? I don't know. I don't know if I could see him doing better than Samson Carter in the future.
Okay.
It would definitely be a risky move, really a 50-50 move in my opinion. You know, it's something that, like Jess said, you could see Maxey come into the starting lineup and just light a fire under their asses. His words, not mine. Or, like Adamo said, it could really just throw off the dynamic of this team that we've seen all year, and that's something you don't want to happen. Real risky move. Will we see it? That's yet to be found.
One more thing.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of reports that people have been saying maybe we should, bring in some other younger guys to replace guys like Derek Gordon. That's another thing that I just don't agree with the modern-day media that's going on around this UMass basketball team. This guy put up 21 points last game. And yeah, he hasn't lived up to the hype that he was supposed to coming in from WKU, but at the same time, he's just a sophomore. He's learning. You keep him in for the next 9 games. He's doing phenomenal. And don't forget, this is the same guy that had 2 game winners over the winter break. He's the reason we were so deep in that top 25.
And there's no bias coming from Adamo there. It doesn't like he has a friendship with Derek Gordon or anything. It's nothing like that. Completely honest opinion. I like it. Now, as we said, this team has fallen out of the top 25 ranks after here in UMass, in Amherst. We started to get real comfortable with them being in the top 25 and almost started getting a little spoiled. Already had fallen out, as you said, not even in the top 40 after that rough stretch. But as I said, still a long way to go in this season. Plenty of games left, plenty of time for redemption. So the question remains, either of you can take this. Will we be ranked when we finish the game against St. Louis at home, finish the season with that, will we be a ranked ball club?
It all depends how we play tomorrow. If we dominate tomorrow like we did against Fordham here at home, we'll be fine. I feel like this team can pick back up. This is a smart team. We've had a bump in the road, yes, but this is a smart team. This isn't a stupid team. We got don't forget, we have Chaz Williams. We have Trey Davis, the sophomore, who's been playing. He played 29 minutes last game and 28 before. Kid's just a sophomore. He's an all-around player. We got Derek Gordon. We have depth in this team. Yes, we have Esho who's out, but we have depth, so we can replace him. As far as getting into the top 25, possibly. More yes than no.
Okay.
But it depends how we play tomorrow.
Okay, so you think tomorrow's a really pivotal game for this team for the whole season?
Must win.
Okay. All right. Jess, what do you think?
Well, I think Chaz is a great leader and Kellogg is a great coach, but I don't see the talent and the consistency in this team that I would like to have them be ranked, especially because the voters don't seem to really respect UMass as much as they should, in my opinion, which I think will bring their rankings down. Not even top 40 this week. That is crazy. Our road record is 500. And we have 2 of our next 4 games are road games after this dip. So it's going to be hard for us to really climb back, only having 9 games or so left in the season.
Yeah, and one of the big things that got this team into the top 25 was their strength of schedule at the beginning of the year. They had one of the strongest schedules in D1, and they were winning all those games, and that's what got them into this top 25. Now they had this rough patch, and they don't have that strength of schedule coming up that a lot of wins is going to get them right back in that 25. They're going to need a nice stretch of wins over some of these A10 teams that are really subpar when you look at the national level. Going to be a tough stretch for them. I think they got it. Still plenty of time, as I've been saying. We'll be sure to be watching them very closely, including tomorrow night. We will have coverage next week of that game, and I'm sure some of us will be there just rooting them on as fans. I know I will. Go UMass. Students, get out there. It's going to be a good game, going to be a good one. And as Adamo says, one of the biggest games of the year for this team. Guys, great stuff. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back with some UMass Spring Preview.
Today marks annual Field Trip Day, where elementary school students from the surrounding areas got the chance to come here at the Mullins Center to see the UMass Minutewomen take on the George Washington Colonials.
The 3-18 Minutewomen came out hoping to put on a show for their hundreds of roaring fans Wednesday night against the 13-7 Colonials.
Here I have students from the Frederick Harris School. How's it going, guys?
Good.
So, quick question. Do you know what today is?
Annual Field Trip Day.
And are you guys having fun?
Yup.
And what team are you rooting for?
UMass.
UMass? You guys have a favorite player?
Not really.
You? No? All of them are good?
Yeah.
Good, we're rooting for everyone.
Despite the intense game, the dancing, and even a visit from Sam the Minuteman, my colleague Demi Foley found one fan different from the rest.
So do you guys know what today is?
Annual Field Trip Day.
Awesome. And what team are you rooting for?
UMass. George Washington.
Ah, are you?
Yeah.
For real?
Yeah.
After our interview, our fans had time to hang out on the court before it was finally time to head home.
The UMass Minutewomen dropped down to 3-19 on the season after a 76-89 loss against the George Washington Colonials. But did that matter to the kids? Of course not. They still had fun and had a great time and can't wait to come back. I'm Adamo Polzone with UMass Sports Weekly, signing off.
Welcome back to UMass Sports Weekly. Now joining me at the table to discuss some Minuteman hockey, Mark the Shark Daly and Demi Foley. Lady and gentlemen, welcome to the table. Now, the excitement around here has really been focused on the basketball team. A lot of focus has been over there. Attendance at hockey games has fallen off a little bit. It's been kind of disappointing to see some of the crowds out there. So as much as we root for you to get out to these basketball games, we want you getting out to these hockey games as well, all right? UMass still needs the support. Whether the season hasn't been what we hoped for, they still need some support. Now, last game, BU finished in the way that everybody hates, a tie, 3-3. No winner, no loser, no satisfaction for either club. But some positives here for UMass. UMass was getting outplayed for a majority of the game and really stepped up and turned it around in the third period. Mark, why don't you give us a little recap? Let us know what happened in this third.
Well, starting with the third period, down 3-1 going in with less than 10 minutes to go. And, I mean, you talked about a disappointing that it was a tie. But it was very, very exciting. It was one of the most exciting games that the UMass program has seen this year. They scored 2 goals in the last 10 minutes of the game, last 12 minutes of the game, including Ray Pagosi's game-tying goal with 50 seconds left in the game. So it was a great way for the team to end the game. They started off horribly, and it all really started. Michael Pereira got a 10-minute major. Had to sit in the penalty box for the last remaining 10 minutes of the game before it went to overtime for what they called abuse of officials. He said some questionable words. What the referees
Those poor officials.
What the referees said decided was poor choice of words. And right after that penalty, it kind of was a switch on for that team. John Micheletto took a timeout. They really got the group together, and it seemed they were able to do the trick. They went into overtime. They didn't give up any goals. They had some quality shots in overtime. Weren't able to score, but just the fact that they came out with a tie after being down 3-1 late was a very impressive thing, and I know they're going to move forward based on that success they showed.
Yeah, very, very exciting tie, which you don't hear very often, but it was an exciting game nonetheless. Now, Demi, there's some thorough coverage from Mark right there, but what were some of the positives that you could take from this game?
Some of the positives, Mark touched upon it a little bit. It was definitely extremely exciting. It was a very high contact game. But the other thing that comes along with that is there was a lot of penalties. I mean, even Mark just said Mike Pereira in the box for 10 minutes. He wasn't the only one. We had a lot of penalties coming from UMass and a lot of penalties coming from BU. And yeah, it adds a little bit of excitement to the game, but also, it kind of takes away from it because it left us shorthanded a lot of times. They had a power play goal. And so I think that only hurts us. If you're going to play a strong game, stay out of the box. So that was my biggest issue. However, they were extremely lucky in the last minute of the first period and the third period. That was like their sweet spot. They started to close the gap at the end of the first period, and then Pagozzi, as Mark was saying, tied it up in the third period in the last minute of the game. So it was extremely exciting. I think we saw some great play out of the Minutemen. It makes me excited for this Friday and Saturday. I think that we're going to see some pretty positive play. I do have an issue with the penalties. I wanted to see your opinion on that, though, what you thought, if you thought they were unnecessary, if the physicality was warranted.
Well, I mean, they needed to be physical. We talked last week, some of the weaknesses that they showed, and being more physical was one of the things that we talked about. But it was also, they have to be disciplined, and that's something they weren't. I think going forward, I think, they have a tough schedule going ahead. As we mentioned last week, the rest of their opponents are in the top 11, ranked top 11 in the country and farther up. So they're going to have to be disciplined. But I think, I think they got the message across. They took some penalties that they should have, and there were a couple penalties that they had to take them, or it was literally they either take them or they're going to be down by a goal. So those are the penalties you got to take, and I think they did a great job recognizing which ones were necessary. But there's definitely ones that can they can avoid.
You can
exactly.
Do They're unnecessary.
And I mean, you talk about that Pereira one. Yeah, it got the team going. It maybe set that spark, but you don't need one of the best. Our best scorer, the team's leading scorer, in the penalty box for 10 minutes when you're down. Like, that's something they should avoid. So you need to play a little smarter in that aspect of the game. Definitely see what they can do, because they're going to, with these tough teams coming up, we got Northeastern this weekend on Friday night, then we play UMass Lowell. You're going to need your best scorers out there if you want a chance to succeed. You're going to need them out there as much as possible. This past weekend, as we saw in the BU game, we had some of the younger guys. Ben Gallagher stepped up. Steven Iacobella stepped up. He won 22 out of the 32 faceoffs that he had. But you can't just depend on these young guys to come out and make a big deal. And, they've been playing well, but you need them to step up. And one of the ways that the older guys can take control is not getting in the penalty box.
Right, exactly. You're right. They need to, just sort of lead by example. You need that leadership. They know that they shouldn't be in the box, especially Mike Pereira. That was a little disappointing. Maybe we could have gotten 2 goals in the end of the third. Who knows? It really hurt us having him off the ice. Another thing that I did want to see what your thoughts were on it is we were almost doubling BU in shots on net every single time. So I also wanted to say, do our shots need to be better, or are we going to put all that credit on the BU goalie? He looked good, he was focused, but I wouldn't say that he's the only reason why we're doubling the BU team in shots that we can't get.
We outshot them this past week, 49-22, but their goalie is the worst in all the Hockey East goalie statistics. He is in last place. And so we just need to get better shots. You're shooting against the worst goalie in Hockey East, the best conference. It's the best conference in the country, but he's still at the bottom of that list. You still need they have to just get better shots on goal. And if they have to make an extra pass, look for the open guy. It's just, that's horrible. They more than doubled the opponent BU's shots on goal, and they can only come up with 3 goals. That's just, it's kind of, where's the energy on that one?
So, a lot of ups and downs in this game is what I'm getting, but overall, a positive for the UMass hockey team.
Being down 3-1, it's positive.
Being down 3-1,
come back and tie it up.
I think they showed a lot of potential. It makes me excited for the weekend. However, I just feel like if they make the mistakes that they made against BU, we had some flexibility. BU's not even ranked. Worst goalie in Hockey East, like we were just saying. If they do that this weekend, they'll be chewed up.
There's no way. Yeah, there's no way they can make those same mistakes that they made this past week and go forward with them against the teams they'll be playing.
So I guess we should just say we're happy that we learned. We came out with a tie.
Hopefully
we'll
the hope
see.
is that they do learn.
Yeah, we'll stay out of the box.
Coming into these games because, as Mark mentioned, an unbelievably tough stretch coming up in our schedule. All of our opponents being some of the best teams in the entire country. It's going to be tough for them, and that begins, as also Mark said, with Northeastern on Friday. The Minutemen head into Boston. Big weekend series against them, especially after coming off the BU game like this. You know they're energetic. You know they want the victory, though. They got the 2 goals in the third. That's satisfying to outplay the team and not lose, but you don't get the satisfactory of a win, and that's what they'll be looking for going into Boston on Friday against one of the best teams in the country. Mark, how do you see this game playing out?
Well, it's definitely going to be a tough game. They're ranked, Northeastern right now ranked 11th in the country, and Northeastern is coming off a win in the Beanpot semifinals last night. They beat Harvard 6-0. Harvard's not having a fantastic season, but Harvard's still a good team, and to be able to come out and beat them that badly is something that, the UMass defense should be paying attention to that. You had Mike Smachula, the freshman forward for the Northeastern Huskies, just last night alone in the game, had 1 goal, 2 assists. So he's one guy that they're really going to have to be careful and really maintain if they want to see success in Friday night's game. And then they have a couple other guys. They have 4 players that have been drafted already by pro teams that are playing for Northeastern. So they definitely have to know who those guys are. Those are the guys. They're their top scorers. They're their best defenders. They really got to the focus has to be on them to go forward and to succeed and pull off a win on Friday night.
Now, as you said, 49 shots. Was that the number you gave us?
Yes.
49 shots against Northeastern. Now, facing some of the best teams in the country, being a subpar team in the Hockey East, that's the kind of shot outputs we're going to need to see from this team for them to really put up some good efforts against some of these really tough opponents. But will be some entertaining hockey, best college league in the country, step below the NHL. I say it every time. I love the Hockey East. Guys, great stuff. Thanks for joining me. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back with a Super Bowl recap from our very own Mark Jean-Louis.
UMass. After splitting a series with bottom dweller Merrimack, the UMass Minutemen hosted the only other team below them in the Hockey East standings in Boston University. UMass was looking for some vengeance in this one after losing the season opener to the Terriers. Although the Minutemen had a 22-8 shot advantage in the first period, the first goal went to the Terriers on this shot by Casey Homan. But towards the end of the period, Ben Gallagher takes a shot that's knocked in by Brandon Graysell to knot the game at 1 apiece. Then BU took back the lead in the second period as Homan dishes it to Adi Oksanen, who puts it in for the Terriers. Then in the third period, Mike Moran comes out from behind the net and scores to give BU a 3-1 lead over UMass. Later in the period, the Minutemen start to show life as Connor Sheary slaps one in to bring them within 1. Then, with less than a minute to play, Adam Phillips takes a shot that's tipped in by Ray Pagozzi to tie it up for the Minutemen. Neither team would score in overtime, and the game ended in a 3-3 tie.
Good evening, UMass. My name is Mark Jean-Louis, and here's your post-Super Bowl edition of the Sports Desk. Ladies and gentlemen, the big event has come and gone. Last year, the lights went out and Ray Lewis ascended into the heavens of pro football immortality. This year, the same could not save Peyton Manning from the Legion of Boom, as the Broncos got pounded by Seattle 43-8. Things started off bad for the Broncos when 12 seconds in, the ball sailed over Manning's head and out of the back of the end zone, putting the Seahawks up 2-0. In the weeks leading up to the Super Bowl, Richard Sherman called out Peyton Manning's passing ability, calling the balls he throws up to his receivers ducks. 3:21 before halftime, that's exactly what happened. Manning attempted to throw a pass, but under heavy pressure, he was rocked and threw a duck that fell right into the arms of linebacker Malcolm Smith. He took it 69 yards into the end zone to put the Seahawks up 22-0 at the break. The Broncos went into the second half looking for a spark to get them back into the game. Well, folks, just when you thought things couldn't get worse, they did. They set up a short kickoff intended to keep return man Percy Harvin from breaking a huge gain. Instead, they surrendered an 87-yard kickoff return for a touchdown, making the seemingly impossible 22-point hole even deeper. If there was any hope left with Peyton Manning and the Broncos, it was gone right after that. Denver was able to put up a touchdown at the end of the third quarter, but by then it didn't even matter. It seemingly looked like the game was well over before it even got off the plane underneath Rutherford. Malcolm Smith was named your game MVP. As far as your Boston pro sports go, the Celtics played on Sunday afternoon hosting the Orlando Magic at the TD Bank North Garden. The Celtics picked up a win 96-89, improving to 16-33 on the season. Improving, to say the least. Rajon Rondo led the way for the C's, logging in 19 points on 6 rebounds and 10 assists in 27 minutes on the floor. Jared Sullinger also recorded a double-double with 21 points and 12 rebounds. For the Magic, Nikola Vukovic scored 14 points and 11 rebounds. The C's will take it on the road tomorrow to take on the Philadelphia 76ers at 7 p.m. The Bruins had a great showing at home on Saturday against the Edmonton Oilers, defeating them 4-0. Goalie Chad Johnson had a stellar showing on defense. He registered 22 saves in the shutout win. The Bees are taking on Vancouver's Canucks and will next take on the St. Louis Blues at the Scott Trade Center in St. Louis on Thursday. I'm Mark Jean-Louis at your sports desk. Stay tuned for JMS with your spring sports preview.
Welcome back to UMass Sports Weekly. Now joining me at the desk to preview our lacrosse seasons, JMS, Jesse, Mayfield, Sheehan, and welcoming to the show our newest member stepping on camera, Jake Liberty. Jake, welcome. Now, I don't know if anyone previewed you or prepared you, but your first segment being with JMS is going to be a life-changing experience. You'll remember this. You'll be telling your kids, your grandkids about this. We've had guys prepare for months. It's interesting stuff to see you right up here, so I wish you the best of luck. All right?
Thank you.
So, as I mentioned, we'll be previewing the lacrosse teams for this year, men's and women's. They'll be kicking off next week, JMS, am I mistaken?
This Sunday.
This Sunday they'll be kicking off. Now, we had a bit of a parable with these two teams last year. We'll start with the men's team, not the season you're used to with UMass Lacrosse. Usually one of the better teams in the country. Usually a very good team, usually ranked. And last year they just did not live up to standards. Lost in the first round of the CAA tournament. Not just overall not what we want to hear out of this team. JMS, do you think this year they can turn it around and have a better season than what we saw last year?
Well, it's certainly going to be tough, Casey, like you said. Not the year they wanted last year, finishing with a 7-8 record and not even making it past the first round of the CAA tournament, which they barely made it into after such a tough season. And I think the real challenge is going to be, after they lost two of their key offensive players from the past couple of years in Will Manny and Kyle Smith, because last year, the real problem was the drop-off in offensive production. They went from averaging about 12 goals a game 2 years ago to averaging about 9 goals a game last year. And when you have that kind of drop-off in offensive production, it's really hard to keep up with the standard that we've been used to with men's lacrosse, as you said. And, when you're losing, on top of that, you're losing two of your biggest offensive weapons to graduation, it's definitely going to be tough. I don't know if this is the year that they bounce back. They do have some players showing some potential. Guys like Grant Whiteway and Connor Mooney could definitely step up and try to fill those roles, but I don't really see them making the full bounce back that everybody's probably hoping for with this team. I think it'll take a couple years before they get back to the form we saw a couple years ago.
Massachusetts high school legend Grant Whiteway. He's one of the guys they're really going to be looking towards for this team to turn around. And this year, even if the team doesn't have one of the seasons you'll be hoping for, like you said, maybe it'll be next season, that's a guy you look towards to maybe hopefully have a big year in his own right. So for the future, you feel very comfortable having a guy like that in your offense. Not getting production expected out of him so far, but there's still time there. Jake, now, do you think this team has a little more potential than JMS, or do you think it's along the same lines?
I think it's along the same lines, how you look at it. Both of you mentioned, senior Connor Mooney and Grant Whiteway. Whiteway is a sophomore, had 32 points on 26 goals. That's incredible. And, Mooney has currently leading the team with points all around his 4 years now as a senior. I think both of them are going to need to step it up, as well as a lot of the younger teammates, and the offense really needs to show. As far as comparable to last year, I think that they can improve, but I don't see them going too far into the tournament. Losing a lot of their seniors, like he said, Smith and Manny. I just don't really see them going too far, but I think they can definitely make improvements for future years to come.
So we're not seeing a big turnaround season for them. But let me put this to both of you guys. Do you think they make the CAAs?
Yeah. I mean, last year.
Go ahead.
I mean, last year they barely squeezed in. 7-8. That's a losing record, and they barely made it. Lost first round right away to Penn State. I don't see them making it again. If they do, I think it'll be very similar to last year, where they sort of just kind of squeaked by. I think they have a chance to maybe better themselves, but I don't know about making it far into the tournament at least.
James?
I think, they can probably squeak into the tournament again. I think last year one of the big problems was they lost a couple of offensive players to injuries last year, and they weren't really prepared for that, suffering injuries for Will Manny and Colin Fleming, guys like that. I think when a team has sort of a game plan, it's like, okay, Manny's going to be our top offensive guy, and then he gets hurt. It sort of rocks things a little for the team, makes it a little harder to go with the strategy you planned. And I think now that they know that Will Manny is gone, that Kyle Smith is gone, they can start planning their offense around guys like Whiteway and Mooney, the guys that are left. And I think, defensively, I think they can only get better. Zach Oliveri in his freshman year in net, he had a pretty solid season, not as good as a couple years ago, but still pretty solid defensively, and I think he can only get better in net. So I think defensively, they can only get stronger, and I think offensively, they may actually surprisingly do a little better, or at least as well as they did last year. And I think they can manage to squeak into the CAA tournament again.
Well, kicking off Sunday, we'll see if they will be able to do that. I think we'll get a good read on the team in their first game, but we'll definitely be keeping a close eye on them early in the season to see how the season can play out, maybe squeaking into the CAAs. Tough thing to shoot for, but, I guess we'll take what we can get right now, hope for the future. See what happened with the basketball team. Programs can turn around very quickly. So we'll hope for good things from them. Now, on the other side of this is the women's team. Now, coming off a much different season than the men's team, won their 5th straight A10 title, made it to the second round of the NCAA tournament. Really good showing from them. And, JMS is still greedy around here. JMS, we want to know, is this something that they can even improve on? Can they go further in the NCAAs? We know they reached the pinnacle of the A10. So we're hoping for the 6th. I'll start with that. Do you expect a 6th straight A10 title?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, in the past 3 years that this team has been coached by Angela McMahon, they have been undefeated in conference play. Let me say that again. 3 straight seasons, not a single loss against an A10 opponent, and they've taken the A10 championship in each and every one of those years, plus the 2 years before. They've been absolutely dominant in this conference, and I don't see them slowing down. They've got a lot of key players from last year returning, heading into their senior year. Players like Sam Rush, who led the team in goals with 65, Katie Ferris, who currently already holds the school record for points in her career. And so I think with all those key players coming back, and considering the dominance they've had over the past few years, I don't see any reason they can't get.
So we're looking towards the NCAAs. So is a second round appearance in the NCAAs, is that not good enough? Do you expect more from this team?
Well, it certainly is a tall order asking that, considering last year was such a historic year, making it to the second round of the NCAAs for the first time since 1984.
And I'm already asking them to do it again. So.
Yeah, we're already asking them to do it again, but I actually think this is the team to do it. Like I said, plenty of strong key players returning. The offensive production should stay just as strong as it was last year, if not even stronger, as some of the younger players start to come up. They only lost 4 players from last year. A couple of their top scorers in Corey Murray and Lauren Terracciano, but those two weren't even their 1 and 2. The 1 and 2 top scorers, Sam Rush and Katie Ferris, and like I said, they're coming back this year. It's their senior year, and players like that are going to want to go out with a bang. So I expect a lot of great things from the women's lacrosse team. I think making it to the second round of the NCAAs again, definitely reasonable expectation. The question is just how far can this team take it this year?
Yep, going to be some exciting offensive production from this team. Now, Jake, do you have the same look at this team, second round of the NCAAs, if not even further into the NCAA tournament?
Oh, absolutely. The way they played last year, the past 3 years, just like JMS said, 21-0 in the A10, overall 54-8. That's an incredible record. I see them definitely going either just as far, if not even further, maybe even looking at the championship game, especially with their 9 of the 12 starters returning, 8 of the 10 top scorers. Their defense is looking great. You got Rachel Valarelli. It's out of 14 games. She's coming back, solid in the net. You're really looking at a solid defense, solid offense, just all-around great team. I definitely see them making another run for the tournament, and I even see championship in the future with the way they've been playing.
Lot of potential here for a very exciting season from the Minute Women over on Garber Field, kicking off next week. We got second round, we got championship, we got bowl predictions. Could be some exciting stuff happening there. I'm excited for it, and I'm sure we'll all be watching. Guys, thanks for joining me. Jake, great stuff. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Held your own very well with this guy. I'm pretty impressed. As always, thank you at home for watching. Make sure to check us out on Facebook at UMass Sports Weekly. Also, check us out on Twitter at Sports Weekly, as well as Instagram at Sports Weekly. Your number one for UMass basketball coverage will be at the games, interviews, all that. Make sure to follow us. And as always, thank you for watching at home, and we'll be back next week, same time, same place.